Hi, and welcome to the second episode of the Building Together series brought to you by Every Mind Thinks. I'm Yashika Tripathi, founder of Every Mind Thinks, and today we are in conversation with none other than Miss Labhanshi Mittal. Before we delve into today's topic, which is about communication, influence, and storytelling, let me just introduce you to Miss Labhanshi very quickly so that she takes over and tells us about her journey and her expertise. And so we have this insightful, wholesome discussion with her on the entire concept of communication, storytelling, as it is relevant. Very relevant for people like us who are into solopreneurship, freelancing, coaching, and training of any sorts. So, to introduce Ms. Labhanshi to all of you, Ms. Labhanshi is an educational psychologist and curriculum designer who is passionate about building learning experiences that don't just transfer knowledge but spark curiosity, resilience, and self growth. Her work sits at the intersection of education, psychology, and communication, where she designs and delivers programs that prepare learners for the real world. She helps schools, universities, and organizations solve one of their biggest challenges, that is, bridging the gap between academic knowledge and essential 21st century skills. Through curriculum and innovation, social emotional learning, that is SEL, quite in trend these days and quite important these days, soft skills coaching and instructional design, she creates frameworks that make learning engaging, practical, and impactful. So over the years, she has designed curricula integrating technical subjects with SEL, social emotional learning, reflective practices, and leadership. She's trained students, teachers, and professionals in communication, collaboration, and public speaking, including a STED ed trainer. She's led programs and communication strategy for sustainability driven educational initiatives, including with NGOs and global youth communities. He's spoken on global platforms as a TEDx speaker and UN Youth Delegate to advocate for mental health, SDGs, and inclusive education. She thrives in roles where education meets innovation, technology, and empowerment, whether that's edtech, curriculum design, L&D, or educational strategy consulting. At her core, she believes that education is not just about teaching, but about empowering individuals to think critically, act empathetically, and lead with purpose. Her unique value proposition is that she designs and delivers learning experiences that bridge the gap between academic knowledge and future ready skills. As an educational psychologist, curriculum designer, and TEDx speaker, he helps schools, universities, and edtech organizations translate complex concepts into engaging, impactful programs. With proven success training 500 plus students and 100 plus teachers, scaling SEL and soft skills modules, and leading curriculum for data science and AI, she brings a rare mix of psychology, pedagogy, and strategy to education. Her edge, she just doesn't create curriculum. She builds ecosystems that improve learner engagement, retention, and outcomes while advancing sustainability and youth empowerment. Isn't that incredible? Absolutely incredible. So, of course, as soon as I read your introductions, I have a lot of questions inside me, and I'm sure people who are listening to this, watching this, they have a lot of questions inside them because it's like we have someone who can guide us in any and every aspect pertaining to the kind of work that we do. For today, we have taken one specific topic, but let's see how much we can learn from Labhanshi today. So I won't take much of your time. I'll hand over the stage to you so that the conversation can proceed. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Yashika, for such an amazing introduction. And I'm really glad to be here. And I'm just glad that you asked me to be here and, just help the few coaches out there who are there to listen and who genuinely wants to learn. So my mantra is to never stop learning because once the curiosity dies, the learning stops. So I'm just glad to have people who are actually there to listen and learn things, because once learning stops, you stop growing as a person. So yeah, and with that introduction, I think that's quite extensive. I've never went to a place with such, from such an extensive point of view. They've sort of given my introduction, so that's great. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, everything that you stated, I think that's pretty much sums up what I do. However, what I would say is that yes, I am indeed a curriculum designer, but before all of these things, I would like to classify myself as a learner who's constantly learning at every bit, no matter what I do, even if I go to TEDx, even if I go to the UN conferences, or any sort of thing that I do. One thing that I really abide by is that learning never stops. So no matter what happens, learning should always be there. If it's a negative experience, you get to learn a lesson. If it's a positive experience, you get to learn, okay, this is something that I did right, and this is what I would carry on, probably to my future generations as well. So yeah, learning should never stop. And before anything else, I'm a learner. But yes, I'm an educational psychologist. I've done my master's in educational psychology from Christ. Before that, I am also a soft skills trainer. I've been training students in the field of soft skills, debating, for the past 4+ years now. And something about me is that I'm a photographer by passion. I love photography absolutely, and digital artist. I love exploring different art forms when it comes to fine arts. And yeah, I mean, people would know about me once they connect. And if they have anything in specific, yes, they can ask on this platform. Um, Now, coming to the journey that I've had, I've talked about
Absolutely,
my
that's what we're
journey
waiting.
in, yeah, I've talked about my journey in one other podcast as well, but I think I'll just get into the depth of my journey. As a soft skills trainer, I think it was really organic for me. How I became a soft skills trainer. Um, Again, I was working, and then I got a chance to observe few of the soft skills training sessions that were going on. And while that was happening, I happened to work with soft skills trainers, and that is where I picked it up from. Now, I mean, again, since I was in college and there were school students who were seeking guidance, so that was primarily where I started to sort of give those sessions, because I've been a public speaker, and my whole school life, my mother used to push me in these poetry competitions, used to push me for these debate competitions, storytelling, and all of that. And I think I sort of picked it up from there, because I had an environment where I was being pushed to do all of this. So that was quite natural. It came very naturally to me, and that is when I sort of picked it up. So yes, we all have certain amount of skills when it comes to certain things, in even in soft skills. But if you really want to excel in a particular field, you really need to start exposing yourself to certain ideas that are out of your comfort zone. So I remember my first soft skills training session, um, the organization that I was working with, I was like, I really do not think I can, go ahead with this session. What if I mess up? What if the students do not respond? So I had all these doubts. But once I started getting into the zone of it, each and every session after that, I think I sort of inked it. I mean, I would see that like, again, scope of improvement was there, but my I would say 3 years or 4 years back, Labhanshi would really appreciate that I started somewhere, right? Then once I was there, I picked it up really fast. Obviously, before actually delivering something, you need to learn something. So my journey was full of, again, it was like a steep curve of learning, where learning has never stopped since then. It might go up and down a little, some way or the other, but I think learning has been the constant thing. Even as a soft skills trainer myself, I'm still learning new skills every day. And professionally, I started it doing after I got into my master's. So for 3 years in college, I was shadowing people, I was shadowing soft skills trainers. But I picked it up myself. I started my freelancing journey once I got into my master's because, again, I mean, as even as a soft skills trainer, you would need some amount of credibility to show people and just to feel confident in yourself and know the dynamics, what goes behind teaching students. So that was sort of officialized when I got into my master's. I did my master's dissertation as well in soft skills training. So yeah, that's how I kind of officialized it, and that's when I sort of gained the confidence of pursuing it solo. And when once I did it, again, I mean, networking is something that plays a very important role in a life cycle of a trainer. So even if you're like a great trainer, they would not know that you're a great trainer unless and until you have the backing of your network, right? Let's say, for example, I have like right now, I have around 3K followers on LinkedIn, right? So people know that, okay, I'm a soft skills trainer and they would want to see my work. They think that, okay, I have some amount of credibility. I am not self-praising at all here at this point, but yeah, I think I've built myself enough to call myself a soft skills trainer this date because I do have a great network of people who not just sort of help me out, but they also help me build myself, right? They're not just there to see
Right.
my work, but they're there to also help me during my, fallbacks. Because I clearly remember that, I went for my net exam, right? And I was behind for the cutoff list, I was behind by 10 marks, and I did post it on my LinkedIn. The uproar that I got from people, the amount of support I got from people was such that I thought that yes, there's something in my life that I've already established. And that is why people really think that, just one failure in your life does not define your whole journey, right? Your journey has to be full of milestones of failure and successes. That's how you can define your journey. And yeah, till date, I think I have again trained 500 plus students, and I think the number have sort of increased. So I really need to update my LinkedIn there. But yeah, it's been such. And even if I talk about the TEDx training thing, that sort of started when I, stopped shadowing certain soft skills trainers, and that's where my freelancing journey sort of began. So I got this project again from an alumni network. So one advice for people and for the soft skills trainer who are starting to, build their journey. One advice would be that have a very strong network of people you think would really support you, right? People you think are actually your well wishers. Because I've had bunch of people who are not my well wishers. They've sort of dragged me down. But again, it also depends on your skills as a person, how you can portray yourself in front of people and carry on with your journey. So networking again is a very important thing when it comes to sort of start freelancing and coaching and training students out there. So yeah, I hope that kind of summarizes my journey. Right. Please go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, that absolutely does. And I was just listening to you in awe. I mean, there are so many things that I personally related with when you said, and so many things that I learned because you started with the fact that learning never stops. The moment your curiosity dies, your learning stops, and that is when your career kind of comes to a halt. Also, I got to know this today that you're a professional photographer too. So, well, I'm definitely following your photography page on Instagram if it's there. All right.
Yes, it is there.
Wow. I am giving you a follow for sure. And also, something which struck me was when you said that in order to ace at what you are doing, if you want to really establish yourself in a profession, you need to expose yourself to ideas which are out of your comfort zone. That is something which people don't really talk about, which they don't tell us. And that was such an honest piece of advice, I'll tell you. You started freelancing in your master's again very young, and you are so grateful to your younger version that she started early. So, It was so good. You started somewhere. The fact that you said that milestones comprise of both failures as well as successes, again, a fresh new perspective. But the highlight of your journey, I think, something that you touched upon as you were coming to the end of your answer was networking, connections. And connection is a very important aspect of our topic today because it's called communication, influence, and connection. So, because you've started on this topic, I would love for you to keep going on this, how to build such connections, how to build such a network.
Right. So getting onto your question, before I actually answer that, I do have another thing to tell because you connect with people you think are like-minded or somebody who follows the same passion as you, right? Now, to connect with people, you need to have a story of your own. That is where the storytelling steps in because how would I know that the person who's actually maybe seeking help or just, want to be around me to see my journey? I need to convey my thoughts, my journey in a manner which appeals to people, right? So even as an entrepreneur that you are, even as a coach that you are, even as a storyteller, or even as an educator, or even as a learner, right? Storytelling becomes very imperative to the very journey because your journey is being communicated how you tell your story. Like, we say that the writers have their own pen. Same way, we as entrepreneurs or solopreneurs have our own voice that we really need to stick to when it comes to conveying the I would say the messages that we have and actually build a network around that. So, before getting into exactly how networking is done, I would like to just tell that my story with networking really started back in my school days. So I was I think I was in my 12th class when I started my Instagram page where I just used to I have a private account where I post things which are private to me, right, about my life, which really do not connect with people in terms of my profession. But for my professional page, I started building it back in my school, and it was nothing but just how I see life, right? And from there, I picked it up to what I'm doing every day. Even during the COVID times, like even I was, if like, let's say I was reading a book, how did that book sort of affected my life and how that book has sort of shaped my perspective. And I think 3 days back itself, I was just going through my archives of stories and I saw this, very, I think, this blog that I started when I was right after school. I started this blog with one of my friends. And I saw that, the kind of person, the passion that I had for actually communicating things was much bigger than it is right now. Because right now there are like multiple things that I need to do. But that storytelling, the storytelling that Labhanshi did was way better than I'm doing it right now. And I think I really need to ignite that thing inside me again. That whenever you're communicating to people, it's not really about what you feel, but it's also about what the people want to hear, right? Obviously, you're going to communicate what you feel, but to the people who you think would actually hear it, right? So when I started my Instagram page, there were just a couple of friends that started following me. Okay, what she does, but then when I got out of school, I started working with organizations. Just students started following me, and that's when I knew that if I want to become, let's say, an educator, have to start to talk about the topics which are much more relevant, which are much more connected to the students, and in a way that they would understand. I mean, let's say that you understand English and I speak Spanish, right? I say something and you won't be able to understand, right? Even though I'm just saying the pretty much like the same topic. If I'm, let's say, I'm talking about an apple, but in Spanish, you won't be able to understand. So,
Yes.
actually touching the point which the students would understand is more important, right? So, conveying your story, but in their language, which they would be able to understand, is very important. And once you start acing the storytelling concept, I think that somehow people would also start relating to you, right? And they would see you as a person on a pedestal, obviously, but again, you as a person, as a trainer, as an educator, need to stay grounded, right? People would give you 1,000 compliments, but at the core of your heart, that you are the person who would still come at 10 o'clock in your house, would still eat dal chawal with your hands, and just need their blanket to sleep. So that's how I also keep myself grounded. With the sort of network that I have with people, right? So I think I sort of derailed there from the very main topic of networking. Sometimes people would actually put you on a pedestal, but again, you need to keep yourself grounded. But network is the kind of, you know, uh, is the kind of thing that you need to do, which would actually help you get projects to projects to projects. I remember when I started the TEDx club at Montessori School in Guntakal, right? I was actively working there, and that's where I got my second project in the Vruksha school, which is in Bangalore. I trained like a bunch of 50 students there, so that was my first, I would say, like a solo project which I was doing, and this sort of networking really helps. And the way that I have portrayed the project that I've done in Vriksha School sort of also helped me getting my current job right now, because they saw that okay, worked with bunch of projects here and there, and I do have that capability. So even when you really want to communicate, because not every time you can just go in front of people and tell them that hey, I can do this, hey, I can do that. You need to show them, right? It is also done via the fact that this is how you communicate your story to the people, right? So if you go to my LinkedIn, you'll see a bunch of posts, and there might be some posts that you'll be like, man, not worth reading. But there might be some posts that are like, oh, it's really curious. Because that's how I've connected to you as a person one on one. So I think that is really important, that how storytelling plays a great role in networking. Yeah, I hope I answered your question there.
Yes, you absolutely did. I mean, what you said was pure gold, and it's not often that we find people telling us the truth. You said that you derailed a little from the topic, but I think it was pretty much part of the topic when you talked about your net people pedestalizing you at times because of your network, because of whatever you can contribute and serve in the capacity that you have. I think when you spoke about the grounding part of it, it's just so important because if that doesn't happen, it's like a halt once again. If your curiosity dies, then it's a halt. If your pride takes over, that is also a halt. So beautiful. And main highlight for me in particular, for people who are watching this, they might take in different insights. I took in a lot of insights, but the highlight for me was when you said that you need to be able to communicate what you feel, but it has to be in the language of the person who is going to hear it. So now what do you feel and what do they want to hear? That you have to bridge that, and that is also precisely your target audience. So that also, because a lot of times we struggle with selecting our target audience, especially as solopreneurs. We don't know who is going to align with us, align with our thoughts and our voice. So I think this is also a very good metric to understand your target audience, something that you talked about. So conveying your own story in their language. Beautiful, and something that also sets a metric for you with respect to clients and target audience. Awesome. Now that you've
Absolutely.
touched upon, yeah, now that you've touched upon the very important aspect of storytelling, I would love it if you take it further by telling us how can we imply storytelling in our sales process? Because you talked about storytelling in networking. How to imply storytelling in the sales process without actually feeling salesy, a subtopic for our conversation today.
Okay. So I'll just directly answer this and then elaborate on it, because that's how it's gonna sound. So you need to sell not your product, but the emotion behind that. I mean, I think you've heard this multiple times from marketers and everyone, but It is so true. That is why it's like a very popular notion out there. Let's say that I have a master class that I really need people to attend, right? I remember this. I mean, again, coming back from my own experience, I was giving this graphic designing workshop in my college, right? And I thought that, okay, if 20, 30 people uh, would join, I would call it a successful workshop out there. You won't believe we did not have like the subscription of Gmeet where 100 people could exceed it. 100 people joined. And people were constantly texting that, we are not able to join. We're like, yeah, we are out of capacity. We cannot let you into the meeting because there's no capacity. So I think from there, I sort of understood how to sell emotions because, right now, everybody is sort of trying to get into graphic designing because they just want to have that appeal of that aesthetic, understand what and how things look better on your social media. So I think that is how I did not sort of like you'll become a great graphic designer or you'll be able to use Canva like a pro. No, it's about that you will be able to understand the aesthetic behind it if you really want to just be like great at graphic designing. People would be like, nah, we don't want to be great at it. Do you really want to understand how to make things look better? That is the emotion behind it, right? If I say that you will be a great graphic designer, what does great graphic designer do? They make things look better on social media. So we need to understand and sort of deconstruct the very thing that our product appeals to, right? So if I am selling a masterclass, I need to make sure that students who sort of does not, I mean, we should not really say that, but the people who really want confidence in themselves, right? If I say that, okay, do you want to be confident? Do you want to be confident in front of your teachers and your peers? I'm like, nah, we are fine. We don't want to do that. But what if I say that, do you really want to feel confident in yourself? So that is the thing which really personalizes and sort of hit the nerve of people. That is how marketers like if we because the primary course that I work in Masters Union is psychology and marketing, and that's what I have also picked up that we really need to start targeting and understand the psyche of the people and the target audience that we have, right? Um, Now, if it's like a luxury product, you cannot expect like, a lower middle class strata of the population to actually buy a luxury product, right? So you will need to market it in a way which appeals to, like, you cannot just blatantly speak in Hindi when it comes to luxury products because having able to speak English is a privilege, right? Able to actually communicate and go to great schools is a privilege. And we really need to acknowledge that if we want to be good at marketing our own selves, right? So when you want a luxury product to be in the market, what you do? You try to portray it as if only the majority or the high strata of the population can actually afford it, right? So we communicate in a language that they only. Minimalism is somewhat is very popular amongst the high strata of the society, right? If you want to appeal to children, right, you will make the things really playful. You'll make the product really playful, like the logo, the colors. But you can't do that when it comes to adults, right? Adults understand that okay, it's not just how it looks, but it is also about how it feels, right? So that is how you need to try to understand your audience and then see what exactly do they want. Do they want to purchase a product or they want to purchase an emotion? Because students are sort of driven with their emotions because our stakeholder there is not the parents. Parents are going to obviously give the money for the master class, let's say, right? But if this child is like, we really want this masterclass because it's going to help me, that is where the customization of your appeal or your sale actually hits the nerve, right? For parents, again, if your target audience is parents, obviously your appeal would be different. So when you are trying to sort of sell a product or a masterclass, you need to understand who's your stakeholder there. That's what I am actually streamlining the answer to. That understand your target audience, and that is very important. With students, it's specifically if they are like of students from corporate, right? Let's say if I go to a master class which is majorly for working professionals, obviously the appeal of my masterclass would be very different for corporate people, as it would like in contrast to what I would have for the students who are studying in schools and colleges who cannot pay for their own masterclass, which rather
Right.
their parents would, right?
Yeah.
So that is the difference. Like again, for different people you have different approaches when it comes to selling a product of your own.
So, of course, as you said, the first step is to understand your target audience, so understand their demographics, and something that you also pointed at throughout this answer, something very important and specific, understand their psychographics, their psyche. And, I had heard this quote somewhere related to what you said, that you don't have to sell to the problem, you have to sell to the pain of your target audience. And there's a difference. There's a difference, and you absolutely explained it beautifully, beautifully, with examples of graphic designing and master classes. Yeah. So I think that is very important, because understanding your target audience and talking to their psyche in your marketing, it's just so much. I think we'll have to have a masterclass with you on psychology and marketing, because this is one topic. It's literally a rabbit hole, and you would want to go deeper and deeper and deeper into it. So definitely we're going to have a masterclass with you at Every Mind Thinks on this particular topic, this very topic, psychology of marketing and how to apply it really. So thank you so much for that answer. I'm sure all of us gathered a lot. Guys, if you're still not making notes, this is your cue. Please start making notes at this point. All right. Now, proceeding to the next question, because you spoke about talking to the psyche of your prospect or your target audience. Once they become your clients or your consumers, your customers, once they are working with you in any and every capacity, how do you actually maintain that emotional intelligence with them? How do you become active listener, active, attentive listener with them? Just manage emotional intelligence with them while being assertive and while holding your own ground as the solopreneur or as the coach trainer. And how do you strike that kind of balance with them, where there's empathy, but at the same time there is also professionalism and boundaries?
All right. So two
Communication.
things that you've really yeah, communication. And I think the answer was actually in the question that empathy and communication is really important when it comes to actually maintaining that relationship with your clients or your students or anybody that you are like selling a product to. So, with me, I think it's actually just delivering that quality work when it comes to maintaining that relationship. But when it also comes to asserting the boundaries, I think empathy would also work. But majority, if you have empathy, you understand the other person, but you're just not able to communicate it. What's the point? So communication becomes imperative to not just empathy, but also asserting your boundaries and delivering that quality, right? Let's say if I am like 2 days behind on the deadline, I am not communicating that to the person. I just don't know, like, okay, do din nahi to late hua hai, what's the big deal, right? It's just 2 days late. But what if I communicate that to the person that, hey, I know the assessment or like the assignment has been 2 days late. I think I'll push the deadline a little and we'll work on that if that's okay with you. Now, the person who's in front of you is definitely going to be like, no, we just wanted to push our deadline. Then you can just communicate in that manner that, okay, I think it's really important to you. So let me try and get this done ASAP, right? That is also very important. And it can be like, it can turn into any scenario. One, delivering quality and empathy comes with a lot of communication. And communication is, if you've seen a decision tree where there's this top thing and then there are other two things that are coming down from it. So I think empathy and boundaries and delivering quality are all a part of communication when it comes to not just delivering the product, but creating an experience for the person who's your client, right? Creating a quality experience for them is really important. And I think that would be done only via communication. So, yeah, I mean, I have a lot to add to it. However, I just think that we are running a little out of time. So I'll wrap it up really quickly. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, quality, delivering quality, empathy, it all comes with communication. And communication, again, whole another masterclass, how to communicate with your clients, how to communicate with the people that you're working with. And yeah, but just like it's to keep in mind that communication is really important when it comes to holding your clients back.
Yeah, absolutely. So, client retention as well as quality management in your own business, they're pretty much contingent to communication. That is just so important. Of course, another whole masterclass. This is just not enough. It was like we didn't even touch the tip of the iceberg, but it's like you have us craving for more and more as you just gave us your insights, and we can't wait to dig deeper into this cave of pearls. All right. So, how would you like to end this particular conversation? And what is the last message you would like to give to all the people watching this?
I mean, that's an amazing question. And I would end with what I said earlier. Do not stop learning, because once your curiosity dies, you stop learning and stop growing in your life, right? No matter what field that you are in, right? No matter if you are just sitting at your home, working from home, that curiosity, that creative block once hits, you would stop growing in your life, right? So, to everybody out there, do not stop learning, because there's so much in the world that is yet to learn. And I think I am going to like just go out there and start maybe a course of that I really wanted to pursue for a very long time, because this actually gave me that sort of courage and inspiration that Labhanshi, let's learn something new. So yeah, do not stop learning, and no matter what field that you are in, a person who's at their 50, top of their career, still would want to learn AI in this generation, because the world do not change. The world does not stop changing. So you really need to change your mindset when it comes to what you already know. So learn and grow is what I would like to end with.
Wow, learn and grow and never let that curiosity die. Beautiful message and a beautiful, beautiful session, as I just said. Labhanshiti, having you here on this platform was a complete honor. It was an absolute privilege and honor to have you. And believe me, this is the kind of session that I personally would watch again and again. And I'm sure that people who've watched it today, they've taken some golden nuggets from this session and they would come back to this particular conversation, this podcast, to rewatch it, to just relearn, to learn, unlearn, and relearn things from you from this particular episode. Thank you so much for being with us once again. And with
Thank you
that,
so much for having me.
thank you so much, Labhanshiti. And with that, guys, let's just keep the spirit alive. Let's continue to learn, grow, and be curious for more such conversations. Don't forget to follow our pages. All the details will be in the description below. So that you can be part of more of such conversations which happen every weekend, and so that you can connect with Labhanshiti on a personal level for any purpose, any query that you like. Is that fine?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. With that, we wrap up this conversation. Bye, everyone. This is Yashika Tripathi signing off with Labhanshiti, our guest for today.